Hello and welcome to another episode of the Amateur Footballer Extra Time podcast. And tonight we are joined by our lovely Southgate. You're the one, aka Ash. How are you?
Yes, I'm very good, Big P. How you doing?
Top man, yeah, I'm good, thank you. And the one and only Mr. Ketspire. How are you this evening?
How are we doing, boys? Hope you're all well. Welcome in everyone in the chat.
Good, thank you, mate. Good. The three lions roar into the semi-final. I'm going to say it was a roaring performance, although I didn't think it was that great. Ash, what did you make of the England performance, and is it what you expected?
I mean, it's a massive improvement considering what we've had to go through in for the group stages, and especially against Slovakia. Having said that, though, still not up to the scratch that we're expecting of this team with the caliber of players that we've got. So, as we probably are pessimistic, we can only hope and believe that we can get better into the next one, and it's going to be a tough one in the next one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, mate. Netherlands, always a tough ask. Doc, how are you and Saturday's performance?
Yeah, all good, thank you, mate. And welcome back, Ash. Nice to see you again. And welcome in Bert and Mark and Mason and anyone else that's joining. I wouldn't say that we roared anywhere. I think it was more along the lines of a little bit of noise out of the mouth, but it certainly wasn't a roar. And with regards to being much better, I think we were slightly better. I don't think we were much better. And I think, for me personally, we got the job done. I want to give Southgate a little bit of props. I think that the changes he made did make a difference. I think that it had a lot more balance in the team. And I do feel like he managed the occasion for the first time in a long time in his tender. So I do want to give him a little bit of props. But for me personally, there's more questions than answers now, because do you stick and do you twist? Do you now stick with a three? You've got Geehee coming back. Where does Shaw play now? For me, there's more questions than answers. So it'll be an interesting one to see what happens in the next game.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that we were average. It was better than what we've seen over the last 4 or 5 games, but it still wasn't good. I still think we're a long way from putting in them sort of performances that we're used to seeing. And again, I don't know, but I can't help but think we could be in a lot of trouble come Wednesday night. We've got a comment here already. I'm going to add it up. Bert and Albion on tour. Welcome in, mate. Good to see you. Would you play Trent or not come Wednesday night? Ash, we'll start with you on this one.
I personally, I wouldn't. I'd stick to the same sort of system, of course, and the same personnel. As much as Trippier infuriates me, but Saka was probably the best player on the pitch for England on the day, and he seemed to obviously be getting in behind and getting a little bit of joy, which we've not really seen from many of the players, especially the full-backs. So I stick with the same personnel personally, and just have Trent come off the bench and hopefully make an impact.
Doc, a bit of a question for you here. Saturday we played with a right-footed left wing back and a left-footed right wing back. What did you make of that?
Very, very Southgate, isn't it? Let's be real. It's very, very Southgate. I'm going to answer the question from Burton. I wouldn't start Trent, but that doesn't mean to say that I would stick with what we've got. Me personally, I want to see other changes. I'm quite content with the 3 at the back, and I think for me personally, if I was going to go 3 at the back, my 3 at the back would be Stones, Konza, and Geehee. I would bring Geehee back in. I would let Konza keep his spot, and I think the 3 centre backs in there should be able to strengthen us there. So you're now probably thinking, well, how's that going to work? Well, my answer to that is you drop Trippier, you drop Foden, and if you've got to play Saka on the left to make that happen, then go ahead. If you want to put Shaw in there, that's fine by me. But they're the sort of changes that I want to see. I think Foden has run its course. He's now played in his natural position and done good in his squad. He's done nothing all tournament. He's not at the races. I don't think if I had him in his team and he wasn't implementing the games like he is, he wouldn't stay in there. So it's the same principle for me. Foden needs to be removed. And I also think he would be a bit of a nifty impact mode to come on. So I would take Foden out. I think that if you're going to put Saka on the left and Palmer on the right, you've got two wingers there that can beat a player down both sides, inside or outside. You've got options there. You've got people in their natural positions that could put the cross in if need be. And that's the direction that I would go personally.
Yeah, I think I would play Trent on Wednesday. I'd play him at the right wing back with Saka on the left. I just think Trent offers us more going forward. Defensively, he's not great. We know that, but he does offer us a lot more going forward and more than what Walker does. The only thing we'd miss is probably Walker's pace on the back, but do we really need it when you've got the likes of Gehi and Konza there anyway? And Stones, to be fair, ain't too slow himself. Guys, just before we look forward to Wednesday, do you think Southgate got it tactically right on Saturday, or do you think he just rode his luck and we won the game on penalties? What did you make of it, Ash?
I wouldn't say he got it right. I mean, he was forced into making the change, really, weren't he? Like, in terms of with Gehi out, he wanted a little bit more protection, and that was his way of sort of protecting his defence. Like I say, we've not really looked up to scratch through most of the tournament, so I just thought he was sort of protecting himself, really, and just trying to squeeze us through to extra time, and obviously in the end, penalties.
Yeah. Doc, do you find it interesting that after the game, Trent went over to, I'm going to say his family, his friends, because I would imagine that's who it was, and he said that there was, he said that there was players in the England camp that didn't want to take a penalty on Saturday. Did you find that interesting?
Yeah, so it was his brothers. He was talking to his brothers, so he was obviously talking quite openly with them. They obviously asked him the question. It is what it is. I don't have an issue with it myself. I don't understand why it's a problem. If someone doesn't fancy themselves to take a penalty, then they shouldn't be taking it. It's as simple as that. You need to have someone that's comfortable to take a penalty. The 5 boys that stood up all wanted to take one, obviously, and are all comfortable taking them. We're not in England of past time where we've only got 5 penalty takers and we need them on the pitch at that time. The fact that Harry Kane is our penalty taker and we can still take him off, knowing that we were so close to penalties, tells me everything I need to know. So I don't have an issue with it. I think it's all being blown out of proportion. Like, you don't know why they don't want to take it. They could be suffering with a bit of cramp. Like, it is what it is. If they don't fancy it for whatever reason, it takes a big man to stand up and say, I think you should let this guy take it because he's better equipped than me. And I'm all for it. So I really don't think it's a big deal at all.
Ash, what did you make of them comments from Trent?
I mean, I probably agree with Doc. I wouldn't say that I find anything sort of any wrongdoing of it, but obviously, maybe, on the camera, things are going to be like taken out of proportion, and obviously, things are going to look in a deceiving way. So, I don't personally see a problem with it. If you're not confident, you're not going to step up for a penalty. It's just a case of it. In anything you're going to do, if you're not confident, you don't fancy it.
The funny thing is, there's been more made about this comment about someone didn't fancy taking a penalty than your manager openly saying on TV in an interview that Tony isn't happy with his game plan. Why would you expect your manager to air live that a player is upset with him? Why would you do that? And for me, I generally believe there is problems behind the doors in England. I don't think it's that they don't want to play for each other, but I think there's a lot of unhappy players, whether they're frustrated with Southgate, whether they're frustrated with playing out of position, whether they're frustrated with Kane. I don't think you will know the extent of it, but I generally believe that not all is rosy behind the scenes, and I think it shows in their performance. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, going to get through some of these comments. Mason says, "Do you play Konza after that performance Saturday, or do you bring him on?" Doc, you've been quite vocal about this, haven't you, over the last 24 hours? What's your situation on Konza?
Again, for me personally, it's all dependent on the formation that you go with. It's as simple as that. If you are sticking with the two centre backs, then Konza will be on the bench. No ifs, no buts, no maybes. Gigi will come straight back in. I think Konza could feel like he's a little bit hard done by, where the formation has changed and it's worked. And for me personally, Walker isn't a natural third centre back. He was fitting in to be that third centre back. So again, if Konza was dropped and Walker stayed there, I think he could feel hard done by. But if we go two at the back, unfortunately, Gareth Southgate's already shown his hand. The starting pair for England is Gigi and Stone. And that is what will happen. Because what you've got to ask yourself is this. If Gigi wasn't suspended, would Konza have stepped foot on that pitch?
No, I know where you're coming from, and no, he wouldn't have. But the fact that Konza's come in was arguably mad of the match. I think he may just look at it a different way. Can he play free at the back with Gigi there? I don't know. I don't know Gigi enough. You do.
He plays free at the back for Palace.
So there you go then. So maybe we'll drop him. But I generally think he'll stick with the same 11 that played Saturday. I do. But we'll wait and see. It's Southgate, innit? None of us know. I suppose that's what the magical mystery thing is. Ash, another comment we've got. Would you start Kane on Wednesday or not?
Yeah, simple answer, no. I don't think he's merited. I get this whole captaincy. He's the captain. He's the leader, whatever else. But like I say, his performances are not meriting him being in the team. Like whether or not he's turning up or not. Like, which in obviously in reality he's not turning up. He's scored goals, but obviously goals are deceiving. His performances, like he scored 2 goals in the tournament, but his performances have been nowhere near the level that we've seen at Bayern this season. And I know he plays in a different formation, different system, and this is Southgate, but he's not really covering himself in any glory. And I'd like to see a different player in there, different personnel. To be honest with you,
it's mad when you say that because the top goal scorer is only on 3. Unless you've got own goals, but the top goal scorer of the competition is only on 3, and that's Musiala and the Georgian striker. Doc, Harry Kane. I know you've had your say on him as well. You'd play him in a different position. What position would you play him in?
It's not that I would play him in a different position as such. I just think that if you're doing right by the team and you want to have the best balance in the team, then for me, you could potentially put Kane in the 10 role because Kane will stay in the 10 role. And if you then put a Watkins or a Tony up top, then Watkins or Tony for me will work Van Dijk a lot more than what Kane will do. So for me personally, I'm not opposed to putting Kane in the 10 and letting him wander a little bit more. And I think that you'll see the best out of Kane in that position, a lot more so than what you're seeing now. But I'm sorry, but you do not drop your all-time goal scorer. And if we get one chance at goal and it falls to any player in that England shirt, you still want it to fall to Harry Kane. So you don't drop Harry Kane. Now, you can take him off, granted. If things aren't working and you need to change things, that's fine. But England with a Kane in it is better.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't drop Kane personally. Again, if you're leading goal scorer of the country, I wouldn't drop him. Switzerland on Saturday. Did you think that they were poor? What did you make of Switzerland as an outfit? They've had quite a decent tournament. I actually thought it would be our hardest game on paper, but it's probably debatable now, isn't it, Ash?
It wasn't really a typical Switzerland performance that, to be honest, I've seen. I don't think England covered themselves in glory either. I thought there was like a pretty evenly matched fight in terms of both teams really didn't sort of give it their all. Only really when Switzerland decided to sort of turn the tempo up a little bit and obviously grab their goal, sort of walk England up, and they came back at Switzerland and obviously scored. But I thought it was a poor game overall for me personally.
Doc, what did you make of Switzerland? Was you surprised by their approach?
I actually think that it was Southgate's formation that changed the output of the game. I think that Switzerland didn't cope with what we were doing. I think it took them. I think the way football is a beautiful game, and then everyone interprets it differently. So what I say and what I see, what you say and what you see, could be different. But for me personally, England were the better team in the first half. It took Switzerland 45 minutes to get with the formation change, and it's like we kept them off guard. At half time, they obviously sat down and decided on what they were going to do to counteract it. From the first minute of the second half, they came out with a purpose, and what they managed to do was they managed to change the complex of the game by putting England straight back on the back foot from the word go. And we then went from a team that was pressing high, doing the things that we wanted to see, to a team that was a very traditional English team where we dropped back in, we sat deep, we called the pressure on, and it only looked like there was going to be one goal scorer in that game at that point. And then once they got the goal, we then made the changes and we managed to get back into the game so quickly that I think that knocks the stuffing out of anyone, because of the fact that it's like, if you compare it to boxing, you just hit me with your best shot and I took it on the chin and I've come straight back at you. It's like, oh, wow, okay, hang on a minute. And then for me, after the goal, I think England sort of wrestled the game away a little bit. Again, I think that personally from that minute on, the momentum has shifted back. But I think over the course of the game, I think you'd say England won the first half. Switzerland probably edged the second half. Extra time was null and void because neither team really went for it at all. And I thought extra time was quite poor. And then the penalties speak for themselves.
Yeah, I was quite disappointed with the likes of Xhaka, who's had a very good tournament, Mbolo, who's also had another tournament. I thought Vargas caused us problems at times, but they bought him off too soon. What I don't like is we go 1-0 down before we start to play. And I think it was, would they score in the 75th minute on Saturday? We've got 15 minutes to try and rescue a game. You come up against a decent side, you're not rescuing a game. Do you know what I mean? And after we go 1-0 down, he then wants to bring on Luke Shaw to play a left foot. And I just think to myself, why have you left it so late? You've left him the last 10 minutes. All right, we got a goal back and we went on to win the game on penalties, obviously. But with that being said, and Luke Shaw, do you take a gamble now Wednesday and just start him from the start, no matter how fit he is? Doc?
I think we've got to be a bit careful as a nation because we give Southgate so much criticism, and a lot of it he deserves. But when a game is 0-0 and they're not looking like losing the game, you have a decision to make. Do you stick or do you twist? And if you twist and we go out, you crucify him. And if he sticks and we concede, you crucify him. So he's in a lose-lose situation there. The point was, when the goal went in, the old Southgate would have sat on his heels for at least another 5 minutes and chucked these players on and then changed things with 10 minutes to go. He made them changes straight away, and within 5 minutes, we were back on level terms. So I think you've got to give him a bit of props for that himself, and I think that he's done the right thing. I think that he played the game cautiously, he managed the occasion, and he made the changes when the changes needed to happen because of the goal. Now, yes, you could argue we could have made the changes earlier, and any other manager would have changed the game earlier, would have gone for the win a little bit more. But I think that would have been a very, very bold move to make with regards to the fact that we wasn't on top at that point. So we were already in a defensive situation, and to make attacking changes is a massive risk when we're already on the back foot. So I understand why he's done it, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. That's just my take on it.
So Wednesday night, does Shaw start for you Wednesday night? Do you start with him from the start?
Again, I think it's all to do with formation for me. I think he will start. I think he will start him. But if you're asking me, would I start him? I probably wouldn't start him. Like I said, I personally would like to see Saka go onto the left-hand side and to have Palmer on the right. And I just think that Palmer, as much as I do get the theory of a lot of people want to see him start, a lot of people think he's an impact player. But for me personally, he's proven for Chelsea, he's got more in his locker over 90 minutes. And I think that if you give him the chance, he's got the hunger and desire. And I think he puts in a performance. So I think that you see a hungry Palmer wanting to prove himself. So I believe he can. So if you're doing that and you're playing three at the back, then there's no Shaw in the starting 11. Again, if it's not working with Saka on the left, or if Palmer's not working and you want to switch Saka back over to the right and you want to take Palmer off and then you bring Shaw on, I'm all for that. Cool, no problem. But I don't think that you start Shaw on, because I just think health is still too iffy. And if he breaks down, then we're back to square one again.
Ash, Luke Shaw starting in Wednesday?
No, not for me. I don't think. This is the thing with Southgate, is that, like, with his substitutions, you're damned if you do or you're damned if you don't. Like, he's, it takes for us to concede a goal before he decides, right, I need to make a substitution. Like, he doesn't have the impetus to sort of think for himself sometimes and go, this isn't working, the players in the system are not working, we need to change it up, change the system, whatever else. But Shaw, I don't think Shaw's really fully ready for a 45 minutes. I think his time is 25 minutes, 30 minutes max, especially in high intensity games, especially against the Netherlands team, where there could be sort of like 2 tackles flying around. I don't think he's sort of ready for that sort of game yet in terms of starting. But as an impact player, when there's tired legs, yeah, potentially.
He played 47 minutes on Saturday, though.
Yeah, but exactly. 47 minutes on Saturday. He's had to train in between the games to get into the formation and everything else. And now you're asking him to start the game as well. So if you're going to start him and he's got 90 minutes in him, you're going to probably keep him on for the 90 minutes, right? Unless something goes wrong. Do you think he's got a game and a half and a training session in him in the space of 6 days when he hasn't played football competitively since February? I think it's too much.
I'm at that point where we're at a semi-final period, play your strongest side, and he's in the strongest side for me. And that's my honest opinion. I don't care how fit he is, you play him. And if he needs to come back off, we revert back.
Breaks down.
If he breaks down, we bring Trippier on and we go back to what we used to. But I just felt like we look better as a side on Saturday when he come on.
But then potentially going into a final with a Trippier.
We've played all tournament with Trippier, so there's no doesn't really matter to me. If you're 2-0 up, you can bring Shaw off with 20 minutes to go and give him a little bit of extra rest. I just feel like we're at that stage now where we have to risk players, and Shaw's one of them players that I would risk. Just moving on to the Switzerland goal, I thought personally it was terrible defending by Stones and Walker. I'll give you my opinion on that after. But Ash, what did you make of our defending, our back line when Switzerland scored?
I think, to be honest, Stones has been probably our worst centre back in this tournament. Like, he's just, like if you look at your Fodens and you look at your Stones, look at your Harry Kanes, like, considering the level that they're playing at, I know it's a Southgate who's in charge of this team and whatever else, but they just don't look up for it. They just look really leggy. I know they've come off a long season as well, but it's playing for your country. Like, there's not a bigger moment for them to sort of deliver on the biggest stage than this moment. And a lot of these players just don't look up for it, especially Stones. For me, he's looked really leggy in this tournament.
Doc, what did you make of that goal?
I just think that we got ripped open. I don't want to sit here and point fingers at an individual. I think, everyone collectively was to blame. The cross came in far too simple. Walker shouldn't be not goal side in that situation, full stop. He's very experienced. He should be goal side. And if he's goal side, he doesn't go in. But that being said, the cross shouldn't have come in as easy as it should have. And I think that it's like anything. You can't just blame one individual when a goal goes in, especially when it's gone in the way it has. So You know, I don't want to sit here and chuck one player under a bus. I feel like I said, as a collective, there was 3 or 4 people that put the goal.
Yeah, I think Stones has to deal with it personally. I think Walker has to be goal side, which leads me on to my next question. With you said they ripped us open too easily, and I'm sure it come down our left side. So is that an issue for you where we've got players like Saka playing there that they are being ripped open too easy because defensively they're not switched on, or do you just think it's a tiredness and we just got caught out? Doc?
I've said from the get-go, our weakest link is the left side. I think that the left side, regardless of who you play, is going to be our weak side. I also think even if Shaw comes in there, the left side is still our weakest side. So it's not about the one player, it's the collective. You've got Foden playing on the left-hand side, which means you've got no cover for your left back. So whatever way you dress it up, whatever way you look at it, the left side is always going to be the weakest side. That being said, I never thought that the right-hand side would look so fragile as it has done in this competition. So I don't think it makes no odds. I don't think Netherlands are looking there thinking, right, well, let's go down the left-hand side all day because we're not going to have any joy down the right. Because I think they're looking at it as in we can get at them down both sides, and that's where the joy is going to come. I don't think they're going to be coming through the middle. I don't think they're going to try and play through Rice, Maynard, and try and break the lines of the Stones, the Gihis. I don't think Gakpo is going to be trying to go as a number 9 and stand up top and try and go toe-to-toe with Gihi. And if he does, he'll be the biggest mistake of his life because I think Gihi will just pocket him. I think that he needs to drag him out of position and he needs to try to exploit the gap. That's where the problem's going to be for me.
Yep. And what did you make of our goal on Saturday? Very good finish by Saka. Do you think it was just a solo effort, or do you think the whole team needs to take a bit of credit for it? Ash?
I mean, it's obviously it's a bit of individual brilliance in terms of, but it's essentially it's not. It's really sort of a typified Saka goal because, I've watched plenty of Premier League games where Arsenal are sort of on that right hand side and Saka, and he does that most weeks, week in, week out for Arsenal. So I think it's just a typical Saka goal, to be honest. Just cutting in off the left onto his left foot, and then top corner, bottom corner. It's just a Saka goal, really, typified into one.
Doc?
I think it is a moment of individual brilliance. I think it's when you see the best of Saka. I think that is what Saka is all about. I think that is the Saka that we've seen at Arsenal. And I think Saka was arguably England's best player on the day. So anyone that keeps coming at me with this, I'm anti-Arsenal and I've got an agenda against these people, listen to what I'm saying and listen to what I'm saying carefully and clearly. Saka was the best player on the day. But you see that goal, why are we not seeing that from Saka week in, week out like we do at Arsenal? Over the course of this competition, how many times have you seen Saka come inside onto his left foot and get his shot away? For me personally, not enough. And it's as simple as that. So I think the talk of Saka's being England's best player at this competition is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous.
I think he's done it once, mate. He's scored once, and that's my opinion on Saka. I'm going to leave it there. Tom says, I think that they will see what happens by half-time with Shaw and make a decision whether to bring him on. So Tom thinks he'll start on the bench. He also says that Walker needs to get across his man. And he also, this is an interesting comment, he says, other countries' players who have played loads of football don't look as knackered as us. What did you make of that comment? Because I'm starting to feel like that we are trying to make excuses for these poor performances, and a lot of football is the where we're going with this. What do you make of that comment, Doc?
I think people are reading too much into it. I don't feel like the players look knackered to me. I generally don't. I think the more accurate conversation for me is clueless. I don't think they look tired. I don't feel like they haven't got energy in them. I don't like. There is a few exceptions to the rule. Don't get me wrong. I think Kane does look tired or injured, and I believe it's more injured than tired. So there is an exception to the rule, but as a whole, the defence, the midfield, there is energy there. Does Rice look tired? I don't think so. Does Mainu look tired? I don't think so. The defenders, do they look tired? I don't think so. So I don't think you can put it down to tiredness. I think that is an easy cop-off. I do think that certain players, like a Saka, for argument's sake, I think that when we get Saka at the competition, Arsenal have run him into the ground. And if Arsenal managed him properly, we would see Saka being our star man for our country week in, week out, like he is at Arsenal. So I do believe that the amount of games that he plays at Arsenal is an issue. But that, again, is an individual, not as a collective. I think a Declan Rice, as I'm sure you would agree with me, when he was at West Ham and he went all the way to the final of the conference, if you had another 10 games that game, you know what you would have got from Rice. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, 100%.
So I don't think that it's tiredness as such. No, I think the main concept between us and the other countries that Tommy is talking about is the players that they're bringing on are having an impact. The amount of games that have changed on its head in this competition from the substitutes that have come on compared to the substitutes that have come on for us, our substitutes still aren't really making an impact. They're not changing the concept of the game, not the way that they are for all these other countries. And that's the way I think.
I agree, mate. Mark says, Ash, I'm going to do this question for you. Mark says, what do you think about the ref on Wednesday's game? I am 95% sure that Mr. Bellingham and the referee on Wednesday have had history in La Liga.
Is it the red card?
I was going to say, before Ash answers, are we aware with why the question's being answered? So you've just touched on it. So this is the referee that Bellingham criticised after a game, basically said that he shouldn't be reffing.
Is this the referee that's apparently Max fixing in Germany? Is it the same guy? Or am I thinking? Yeah. I mean, this is a tough one for me to really say, to be honest, because you're gonna get somebody that you don't get on with in a whether it's on the football pitch or whether it's off the football pitch, but I think the players need to sort of focus on the game rather than focus on who the referee is. The main thing is putting in a performance, sort of thinking of the objective rather than thinking about the decisions that are going to go against you because it's a referee that you don't get on with. So I think they say the focus is on the game rather than who's refereeing the match for me.
Doc?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with having this problem is we shouldn't have to worry about a ref, and the players, like I said, should be focusing on the game. That being said, someone does need to pull Bellingham aside and have a word with him, because Bellingham has shown in this competition in particular what was the shoulder barge in the first game, the grabbing of certain parts of the bodies. There's a time and a place. Bellingham needs to focus on his football and let his football do the talking. He doesn't need to get involved with anything. But this game in particular, he does need to be a little bit cautious because this ref is going to want to book him. And if this ref can send him off, he's given an opportunity to send him off, I believe he's going to send him off. So you need to take that out of the equation and to be completely an unspeaking thing.
I agree, Doc, and my stance on Bellingham. I said probably 3-4 months ago that he will cost us at some point in this tournament. He's been close. I think Wednesday we may see that, but maybe through no fault of his own. The good thing for us is obviously VAR's there and they may overrule the decision. So Mark then goes on to say, does Bellingham have to think twice about going in for a challenge? I think the guys have answered that. But if they want to elaborate, I'm more than happy.
Yeah, I can see Bellingham getting sent. I can see Bellingham getting booked in the game, and then I can see Bellingham being withdrawn from the game because he's been booked. So I don't think if he plays his cards right and he doesn't get booked early in the game, I think it will probably happen after half time. But the minute Bellingham gets booked, I think that plays into Southgate's hands because that will be the moment where he removes him and makes a change. So the ball's in Bellingham's court, really.
Yeah.
No, it's like, cool.
As you said, I think it's sort of, before the game, I think sort of the collective group need to maybe sort of have a little word in Bellingham's ear just to say, just to sort of keep your temperament, above board and just make sure that, like you said, you're squeaky clean. Just focus on the game rather than sort of the challenges, the shoulder barges. He just needs to sort of keep himself cool as he can be. If decisions go against you, yeah, it's going to be tough, but you just got you're playing for your country. You have to sort of you get the good with the bad. You just have to you have to keep it cool. Really, like it's as simple as. I know it's easier said than done, but in a situation like that, in a semi final, now these things cost you, and it could cost him and his country at the exit. So
Yeah, I think we'll see how many leaders we got on Wednesday night with that. Before I move on to the next subject, during the game, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Bellingham have his number up to be subbed and Southgate changed his mind? I think there was a bit of confusion there, to be honest with you. I think it was the fourth official who just put the wrong digits up, but there was nothing really about that.
It was a mistake. If Bellingham's number went up when it shouldn't have.
And then he put, but I thought match fixing would be a full ban. We're not going to get into match fixing
It's
and that
not
because
match fixing. It's not match fixing, guys. Bellingham has had his stance on something. The guy has never been proven guilty of match fixing. It's not like he's ultimately everyone knows he sticks gap matches and therefore he can be reckoned. He's innocent until proven guilty. He's not done anything wrong, but him and Bellingham have had a disagreement in the past, to say the least. And regardless of what the referee's done, Bellingham needs to understand the occasion. But that goes for any referee. Like my dad taught me at a really young age, certain referees would love the book of players because it's like getting their autograph.
yeah.
He can see his grandchildren. Oh, I put this guy. I put Jude Bellingham. Do you remember when I put Jude Bellingham? So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who it is. The best way to answer your critics is to let your football do the talking and not give the referee an opportunity to book him. So the ball's in Bellingham's court, really. He needs to be professional. And this goes for the same as when he plays for Real Madrid as well. He's playing for the biggest club in the world. He is the standout guy now. People are talking about him. He needs to watch what he's doing.
So I just want to move over to our foreign football expert, our man Ash. Ash, Wednesday night, obviously, we faced the Netherlands. What can we expect from them? What do you know about them?
well, it's not too much really, because I don't really follow the Netherlands as such in terms of like formation and everything else. But obviously, what to expect from the Dutch is they are a sort of high intensity like team in terms of they like to make they like to make a challenge. Yeah, like leave their mark as early as they possibly can. Especially with a Van Dijk in defence who can be aggressive in that way. A lot of the personnel in there are sort of a younger core from a lot of the players that are missing from this Euros that the Dutch are missing. There's a lot of personnel that I haven't really seen much of, but obviously, the familiar faces in terms of the Van Dijks, the Gakpos, the Pies. Like, I'm, it's going to be interesting to see what they personally can do, and I generally think that they are going to be tough to break down.
Doc, what's your stance on Netherlands, mate? What you made of them?
For the two games that I've watched the Netherlands in this competition, they seem to be like what we expect from the Dutch. And it's what we've obviously come across before. This Dutch team actually reminds me a lot of the one that we played in the 1996 Euros final. They seem to be really solid at the back. Kane and Van Dijk, two players that have had very good seasons for their club, are the solidarity in there. They keep it solid at the back. They seem to want to hit teams with pace down the wing. The left-hand side of their attack has been a threat that I've witnessed more in the two games. They seem to attack down the left-hand side. And obviously Gakpo, as in Liverpool Gakpo, so we know who he is. Gakpo before he signed for Liverpool, people don't appreciate the numbers that he was putting up. So yes, he hasn't been a great success at Liverpool with his goal return, but don't forget he's not a regular starter for Liverpool. He's shown in the Netherlands team what he's about when he plays, and he is obviously the joint top scorer in the competition. So that to me is where the threat's coming from. But that being said, I believe that it's all stoppable. I believe that Gakpo can be pocketed and be kept quiet. And I believe that if we play to our game plan, we can sustain their play the way we did with Swift. And I think that they are quite similar to how Switzerland have approached the tournament. And that, for me, playing Switzerland was a good preview and a good warm-up for the Netherlands game. But I don't think that we've got to fear the Netherlands. I don't think Netherlands are, an amazing force like I do if we get Spain. And I don't think Gakpo is this world beater that people are talking about. People are talking about Gakpo like he's a prime Messi. I had people saying in my live earlier that we've got to double up and triple up on him. Come on, mate. Focus. It's Gakpo. Come on, let's be real. I think that if you have someone doing their job, let's be honest, Walker has managed to pocket Mbappe in recent times. So if Walker is still at the races, Walker is more than capable of keeping Gakpo quiet. And you've got the other defenders there that if he does get past Walker and if Walker is dropping off, they know the role more than enough to cover. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom for England. And I don't think that this is like this. A lot of people got this concept that Netherlands are this force and we're lucky we shouldn't be here. And ultimately, they're going to walk this game. There's going to be a walk in the park. I mean, I've had 3-0s and 4-0s thrown at me. I don't think you're going to see that. I don't think England will be thumped and turned over by anyone. But we could still lead the game 2-1. I'm a realist, but I still think we've got a goal in us. And I think they've got a goal in them. But we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah, I think the players I do think Gakpo is a different player for Netherlands than what he is for Liverpool. And I think Xavi Simons as well is a pretty decent player on the other flank for them. Tom says, do we think Dumfries will be difficult down the left? I do. I think he's great. And also Dumfries' play acting in their last match wasn't good to see. I think with these foreign players, the play acting is an inevitable. It's just how we handle it. And if we're diving into tackles, they're going to roll around. They want players yellow carded, especially our better players.
Well, I actually think that is a myth. I think that's a myth when we say foreign players. Because Foden has spent half of his time rolling around claiming for free kick every time he's been tackled. I think Foden's been as bad as the next person. I generally do. It is infuriating me that England have turned into a bunch of prima donnas that literally want to sit there when there's any contact at all, hold their shin, stay down until we get the ball back, and then they jump up like they're, Tyson Fury after getting ironed out by Wilder. All of a sudden they sit up and they want to go again. Like, come on, boys, focus. Are you injured or are you not? So I think they're responsible for the next person. I really do.
I just want to get your thoughts on Gareth Southgate's comments about what he said over the last couple of days about the fans that are out in Germany and what's being said back at home about him. And that was he doesn't understand where all this negativity around him has come from. And if we go on to win, he's been arguably the most successful manager that we've had, or best manager, whatever terminology you want to use. What do you make of them comments that he finds it hard to see where these fans are coming from? Ash, I'll start with you on this one because I've got a feeling Doc might want to go into a bit of detail about his best mate. Ash, what do you make of these sort of comments, mate?
Like I say, I don't personally get how he doesn't understand sort of why fans have a lot of negativity to him. Like, we could be here all day having this conversation. The fact of, like I say, these players on merit. He's going to pick players because, they're doing well for their clubs, wherever else. But then he picks players that don't play for their clubs. And, it baffles me how he don't comprehend himself, like why there's a lot of negativity around him with the personnel of players say, with his negativity in terms of the way he sets up his team, playing players out of position, all this, like, I don't really care what Southgate says, to be honest. I don't care about him. But no, just literally, I don't personally get his beef. Like, he should be more focused on the squad. Like, why come out and speak about the negativity? Yeah, I get it. You might be frustrated. You potentially might be the best manager that we've had since '66 and whatever else. But let's just do the talking on the pitch. If you bring the trophy home, we might be having a different conversation. But until then, just go about your business and focus on the players.
Doc, just before you start, they shouldn't be throwing cups at him or any manager. Shouldn't have to put up with that. Carl, I totally agree with you, mate. I'm not condoning any sort of violence towards Gareth Southgate. I'm just literally talking about the comments that have been made by Southgate about what people are saying back in the UK and out in Germany. He wants to know why he's being booed when he comes onto the pitch, and when his name gets said over the tannoy, the fans are booing him. And it's not just the minority. We're talking about the majority of the fans out there are booing when the announcer names the 11 and then puts Gareth Southgate as manager. Doc, take it away, mate.
Well, first of all, the answer to your question as to Southgate doesn't see why. The only thing I can say for that is because he is on one, isn't he? What is he talking about? He can't see why. Has he never been in football in his life? And all this nonsense about him being the most successful manager of all time. You've been given 9 years to achieve what you've achieved. No other manager's ever been given half the amount of time to even put into place a plan that you've had. You've had more than enough time. You've had more than enough backing. You've had more than enough good players, and you've still delivered diddly squat. So to sit there and tell me you're the most successful manager, what people can do, I don't care. I don't care. You've got the same win rate and conversion rate as the next guy, which is nil point. You've won nothing. Win something, and then we'll talk to you. Win something, and then you might have a counter argument. But even if you win something, do you know what I'm going to say to you, Gareth? It took you 9 years, fella. And if we would have given the next guy 9 years, he would have done the same. And the other thing I say to you, Gareth, is this. 9 years to win something, yeah? What about the two that you threw away? What about the two that you threw away when you went defensive and you changed the formation? But don't sit there and tell us fans and the press that you're hard done by, because you're not hard done by. If you want positive reaction from people back home, give us something to be positive about. And until then, hush it and go and win the tournament for us, please. Right.
We're coming. We're coming to the end of the show. I'm just going to quickly run through the last two. If we win, who would you want to play in the final? Quick, Spain or France? Ash?
France.
Doc?
I think it's easy.
Both France, yeah?
Yeah, well, I don't want Spain to the best team in the competition.
And then a yes or no question again. If we win the Euros, would you say he is the greatest manager? Ash?
No.
Doc? And then Tom goes on, could say, can you see Southgate going into club management after this? I don't know what he's going to do after.
Crystal Palace.
Yeah, we could do a whole live on Gareth Southgate and club management, but I do think he'll go into club management.
I want to say, Pete, just quickly, yeah? The one thing I do want to say is we've been linked with Frank Lampard, right? And I'll tell you now, if Frank Lampard's the next England manager, I'm 100% committed to you, Gareth Southgate. Sign the contract, we'll have you for another 8 years, please. But that's not a compliment to you. That just goes to show how much I do not want to see Lampard as the England manager.
Tom goes on to say, Ash, none of that, please, mate. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. It's Monday. You've made my Monday evening. I love seeing you two on the old podcast on a Monday evening. If you have missed the show and you could join halfway through, please feel free to go back on the YouTube and watch the full episode. Ash, have a lovely week, mate. I hope your airport trip goes fine. And the same to you, Doc. Anything you want to say, Doc?
Yeah, thank you both for coming in. Everyone in the comments, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much. I know, obviously, you show a lot of support to us in particular. as you know, that with the exciting news that we've announced, we will have a new podcast in the very near future. Please show your support to the new podcast the way you have this one, and also with our channel. And I have no doubt that you will. So I just want to thank you all for your support, because without you lot, we'd be three grumpy old men talking about a two-Bob England team. So you make the show, not us. So thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. Have a lovely week, and football is coming home.